Hi everyone, my name's John. Welcome back to my channel. I had a yin recently to read something that wasn't within the millennium span of 500 to 1500. So I wanted something a little bit modern, something out of the Historathon time period. And I wanted to pick up some 20th century literary history. And I've had this around for a while. I can't remember for the life of me who actually recommended it, but if you know who you are, because I don't think I do, thank you. It was so good. And I just wanted to talk to you about it for a little bit and tell you how much I enjoyed it. This is Square Haunting. 5 writers between the wars. And as you can probably tell by the photographs there, those wars are World War I and World War II. You may recognize the people on there. If you don't, let's see. Dorothy L. Sayers, Virginia Woolf, H.D., the modernist poet Hilda Doolittle, Jane Ellen Harrison, and down here we have Eileen Power. And I'll talk about who all those. I'm sure you know a couple of them at least already, but if you don't know all of them, we'll get into that in a second. So books about places aren't uncommon, obviously, but they're usually about larger areas, whole continents, countries, or at least cities. But this book, I don't think I said the author's name. Let me correct that. This is by Francesca Wade. Square Haunting, which was published by Tim Duggan Books in 2020. She talks about what may superficially appear to be kind of unfertile ground for a biography of place, but London's Mecklenburgh Square, which is located in the Bloomsbury district of London, is dripping with fascinating interwar literary history. Square Haunting is written as mini biographies of Wade's 5 subjects. And like I said, I already mentioned who they are, but I'll go over them again. So we have Hilda Doolittle, better known as H.D. She was a poet and a memoirist. Mystery novelist, Dorothy L. Sayers. The classicist, Jane Ellen Harrison. The economic historian and medievalist, Eileen Power. And then you have, of course, maybe the centerpiece of Bloomsbury herself, Virginia Woolf. The chapters aren't really fully fleshed out biographies of entire lives. They're only the parts of these women's lives that they spent living at this particular address in Mecklenburgh Square. A place which is now gentrified beyond all recognition, but in its own time, a century ago, was a refuge for women who wanted to carve out their own space in the world without needing to secure a husband or needing to continue to rely on other male friends, family members, fathers to support them financially. H.D. Arrived at the very end of World War I, a time when her marriage to fellow writer Richard Aldington was beginning to slowly fall apart. And it was also where she met Breyer, who vigorously pushed against gender norms as someone who didn't feel fully comfortable identifying as a woman, although she was assigned one at birth. And they likely had a romantic relationship together. Much of H.D.'s time at Mecklenburgh Square was spent writing long epic poetry that evokes the world of ancient Greece, as well as her novels Palimpsest and Hermione, capital H-E-R. Within a year of H.D.'s departure, Dorothy Sayers moved in, just a few years out of Somerville College, Oxford. And it was in those same rooms that H.D. occupied, those exact same rooms at 44 Mecklenburgh Square, that Dorothy Sayers worked on her first novel, Whose Body, and its famous protagonist, the gentleman detective Lord Peter Wimsey. Eileen Power stayed in Mecklenburgh Square the longest, from 1922 to 1940. And she moved there after being invited to become a full-time member of the faculty at the London School of Economics. She was also an outspoken pacifist and supporter of the Labour Party who made really important contributions that added to what we currently know about the lives of medieval people, but especially medieval women, whose lives had mostly been maybe not purposefully erased, but certainly not had as much attention paid to them as there could have been. And for the last 2 years of her life, Jane Ellen Harrison, the classicist, lived, who I think is the oldest of these women, as in born first, lived in Mecklenburg Square, where after she finished a long career at Newnham College at Cambridge, and she continued her really pioneering work in the fields of Greek art and religion, arguing forcefully that feminine figures, for example, the ancient earth goddess of Thrace, Semele, had been deliberately ignored or undervalued by scholarship, almost all of which, again, was written by men. Wade saves Virginia Woolf for last, because she lived there last. She only spent a year at Mecklenburg Square, some of which was spent blackening out her windows during the Luftwaffe's relentless strafing campaigns over London, while her husband Leonard ran Hogarth Press from their basement. She worked on Between the Acts, as well as her biography of Roger Fry, another Bloomsbury luminary, and spoke out against the ways in which, quote, the insane love of power, end quote, was leading to the destruction of Europe. Wade's deep and abiding interest in these women's lives shines through in the prose. It's carefully measured. It avoids wild, unsubstantiated claims about her subjects. And there's also a beautiful continuity in the women that she's chosen and their work, in their lives, in their loves, in their intellectual passions, but also the changing times that they lived in. There was a quarter of a century from between when H.G. arrived at Mecklenburg Square in 1916 and when Virginia Woolf left in 1940. And in that quarter of a century, we can see the painstakingly slow progress that society was making toward giving women the ability to write, to think, and to live on their own terms. In just another 25 years, second wave feminism would be in full swing, which is a testament to how quickly the momentum of cultural change can grow when you have 5 women like this doing the yeoman's work so that future generations can have a fuller panoply of rights and freedoms. And as fascinating as the 5 individual biographies are, what comes to the forefront most is Francesca Wade's deep interest in mapping out how women lived together, how they shared ideas, how they express their intellectual autonomy in a community of artists and writers who were pushing up against the ideas that prevailed as social conventions of their time. And that combined with an abiding love for the geography of place for Mecklenburg Square in Bloomsbury makes it quite literally a book about women finding a room of their own. It's a really beautiful book. Very, very well done. Top-rate literary history. Square Haunting. 5 Writers in London Between the Wars by Francesca Wade. Do recommend if you ever happen to come across a copy. I will see you next time with another book review. Bye.